Welcome! In this video, I'm going to share with you how to host a business seminar. Get ready. So first I'm going to cover who is your audience so that you can design the seminar to support them and to give them what they want and what they need. Then I'm going to get into, based on that audience, how to choose a seminar topic or theme. From there, I'll talk about how to design your seminar format, then how to create a seminar outline, and finally, what to do if you get a difficult participant or attendee. Let's go. The first thing you want to look at when you're designing a seminar is who's the audience, who's going to be in the room. Now, this is really the most important thing to consider at the foundation because everything that you do is going to depend on what kind of outcomes you want to deliver to this audience. So you want to think about things like, what does this audience want? What do they know they want and need? Now, a lot of times there's a distinction, there's a difference between what people want and think they need versus what they actually need. So you want to address both things. So first and foremost, what does the audience know that they want and need that you can provide? You'll want to lead with that in your seminar. Make sure people know that they're going to get that answer. So for example, if we were using my business as a case study, then what we would look at is my audience are entrepreneurs like you, most likely. They want to make more money, have a better lifestyle. So I would want to lead with a topic that my audience wants, which is like how to market more effectively to make more money, or how to grow your business and scale your business, right? So these are what is obvious, what they might be sitting up at night Googling, what keeps them up at night. This is the problem they know they have and they admit. But even deeper than that problem is the problem that they don't really talk about. That's the emotional problem. That's the pain that is a result of that problem that they know they have. So for example, with my audience, if we use that again, they have this problem, they want to grow their business. Okay, that's the obvious problem, but underneath that is maybe they don't feel worthy of making more money. Maybe they have mental blocks around money and mindset. Maybe they are scared and feeling scarcity because they had, a childhood where there wasn't enough money ever. There are a lot of things that can be underneath that initial problem that they might not even be super consciously aware of. Now, the reason this matters and the reason it's important for you is because you will want to address that emotional problem in your seminar as well. You don't want to lead with it necessarily, but it should be in there. It's a way to relate to people on a deeper level. Now, here's the kicker of all of this, right? You also need to address the problem that they don't even know they have. This is huge because when you can help people see a blind spot, when you can help people gain awareness about something they didn't even realize, all of a sudden, number one, they pay much closer attention to your seminar. Number two, they get more value out of it. They'll never forget what they got. If they have a true shift in thinking, that will connect them to you. People are very grateful for those experiences. So for example, to use my audience again, they want to make more money, grow their business, scale it. They feel maybe unworthy and they have scarcity. Well, the problem that they might not know they have is that their business model is not set up to support them. They don't have monthly recurring revenues, they have no leverage, they're selling their time for money. So when I can help people see that the real problem is not marketing strategies or any number of other things that they might think it is, but really fundamentally that their business model is flawed and or perhaps even their brand is flawed, then that wakes people up and that gives them a much bigger aha moment. So I tell you all of this because at the foundation of coming up with your seminar topic, you'll want to think about these three things: the problem they know they have and admit, the problem they know they have and they don't admit, and the problem that they don't even know they have. And once you have those three problems laid out, now you can come up with a really juicy seminar topic and theme, which is the next piece of this video. So once you've done the foundational work of understanding your audience's wants and needs, now it's time to figure out what is the value proposition of your seminar. What are they going to walk away with? This is what I call your seminar promise. And your promise has to be juicy. It has to be something that it raises eyebrows, that people are like, oh yeah, I need that, or yeah, I want that. Now, I'm speaking from the perspective of an entrepreneur who has to fill her own seminars. You might be creating a seminar for somebody else's audience. You might be stepping into an audience that's already created for you. Even so, it's really valuable to look at creating a juicy value proposition. Maybe you don't have to drive traffic to your event. Maybe you're not responsible for enrollment. Maybe you are. But even if you're not, doing this homework will really help you gain a good reputation, get invited back to speak some more, do other seminars. So the key is to have a value proposition that has a juicy outcome. So for example, for my audience, one of my seminar titles is Small Events, Big Back End. And the description is how to design, fill, and monetize retreats, seminars, and transformational events. So in that title and subtitle, in that value proposition, people can really clearly see what they're gonna learn. And it also has the small events, big back end as a way of like getting attention, because people are like, what does that exactly mean? And it's kind of a little bit funny. Some of my other really popular seminar titles from the past might give you some ideas about what you could do. So one example is how to communicate powerfully without being a bitch. That was one of my most popular seminars for years, and I'm pretty sure it's because it held a really juicy value proposition and it was kind of funny and made people pay attention. So really think about the title of your seminar and the value proposition. Now that you understand your audience and your value proposition and your title, it's time to look at how you're gonna deliver this outcome. How are you gonna deliver on the promise that you've made? So we're talking about your seminar format. Before I get into different types of formats, one thing to know and remember, and I drill this in with my clients all the time, and that is information is not transformation. This is where so many people go wrong when they're designing a seminar. They try to pack it in with everything they know on a topic, and they spend the entire time just talking instead of interacting. Now, information is good. It's a good thing to give people context and an understanding of something, but the way people learn best is by doing, is by discussion, is by thinking out loud, is by practicing. So the more you can get your audience to do something, the better. Back before I had this career, way long ago when I first graduated from college, I worked with kids with learning disabilities. And what I discovered was that they often had teachers that would just talk at them the whole time. And a lot of these kids had trouble processing the information that was spoken to them. But the minute I could get them to do the work themselves, get their hands moving, I used to teach math, get them to do the problems on paper and talk them out with me, they would do much, much better. That's because hearing something or seeing something is only one aspect of learning, but actually doing it really makes people integrate the information in a new way. And so based on that, what I recommend doing is consider varying the formats. Consider mixing it up, all right? So you might have a little bit of content, a little bit of philosophy or theory or context, then a discussion. You might want to consider bringing in, what I do is I do hot seats, which means I work one-on-one with one person in the room, but that everybody else can participate and witness how we're doing what I'm doing with one person. Often I'll then send them into breakout so that they can discuss it in smaller groups, and then we regroup together and have a discussion as a large group again. Mixing up the formats makes it a lot easier for people to integrate the information, and it makes them walk away more likely to have gotten the result that you're looking for. By the way, if this is interesting for you and you're thinking, wow, maybe I could do this for a living, the answer is you certainly can. That's what I do and that's what I teach. So I have a whole bunch of videos. Check out my playlist on how to do profitable retreats, seminars, and events for a living. So now that you have a sense of how you're gonna mix up the formats and try different things, discussions and hot seats, let's look at creating your retreat outline. So there's certain key components that I always recommend in a certain order in order to engage people and bring them on a journey. The first piece is what I call the pre-frame. The pre-frame is what sets the expectations and the rules of engagement. So for example, in a pre-frame, that might be where you share when people are gonna be able to ask questions, or if you want people to interject questions throughout the seminar. So you can establish rules like that. Another thing that you'd wanna do in a pre-frame is really set up that promise and let people know, by the time you leave here, you're gonna have this outcome. The more that you create that expectation, of course you wanna fulfill it too, the more likely it is that people will feel satisfied that they got what they came for. So you wanna go ahead and set it up and let them know, hey, the promise that I'm making to you today is that you're gonna walk away with this complete. You're gonna walk away with this having happened today. So the pre-frame is an opportunity to do that, and it's also an opportunity for you to set your leadership and establish with the room the way we're gonna do this is, the way I work is. That puts you in the leadership role, and it lets them know who's the boss of this seminar. The second thing that you'll wanna do for your retreat outline is help people to envision and imagine a new possibility with that outcome done. So getting them excited about what they're gonna create or what they're gonna learn or what they're gonna do. Creating that possibility means opening people up sometimes to something that they are not necessarily fully aware of. So for example, when I open my seminar about retreats, one of the things I do is I share a few stories of other people who've been able to shift and transform their lives by changing their business model. And so this opens up new possibilities, and the people in the audience can think, well, maybe that could be me. Maybe I could do that too. The third thing is to then get into the actual content. This is where the meat of your presentation, of your seminar lives. And this is where you'll want to interject some of those exercises, discussions, solo work, whatever you're gonna do, paired shares, triads. This is where that interaction and engagement needs to happen. And this is where you might want to teach some sort of system or process, the steps to get to where you want to help people get to. So last but certainly not least, what do you do if you get someone in the room who's difficult, who isn't playing by the rules, who isn't playing nice with others? What can you do? My advice would be to try to, number one, head this off at the pass by having a proper pre-frame. The pre-frame is where you'll establish the rules of the game and let people know what behavior is or is not acceptable. Now, personally, I like to position the pre-frame as what I do want instead of what I don't want. So for example, instead of telling people, hey, no interruptions during this seminar, I would say, hey, please hold your questions until I open up the floor for questions. So instead of telling people what you don't want, what you do want to say is what you do want, and set up the rules of engagement before the problems happen. That way, when you have a difficult person or situation, you can go back and say, hey, remember the agreement that we made at the beginning. And of course, if somebody just isn't willing to abide by those agreements, what I've done in the past is taken them aside to have a private conversation and just politely and lovingly ask them to leave and not come back until they're ready to live by these agreements. Now, I want to also share that this used to be a common problem for me at the beginning when I started running seminars and retreats. I would often run into quote unquote difficult people who kind of would take over or talk too much or dominate the conversation. And I'll share that in the past, before I knew better, I would focus on that person. I would try to, let's say somebody was just really problematic and was always struggling and couldn't figure it out and had a lot of questions or complaints. My energy would go to that person. And what I learned from one of my mentors was to never do that. You never want to feed the problem. What you want to do instead is focus on who's doing it right and put a lot of positive energy and attention towards the people who are energy rich and who are supporting the environment and the culture that you're trying to create, and letting go of the people who aren't. And over the years, I've found that that strategy works so much better to create a positive retreat environment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did and you want some more, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and click the little bell button next to the subscribe button so that you can get notified when I release new videos, which I do almost every day. And if you want to learn more about what it looks like to work with me or go deeper into this content, check out monetizeyourmagicplaybook.com.